Hello and welcome again. Today we continue our work on topic 5.3 for IB Biology, looking at the classification of plant and animal groups. Today we look at the recognition of features of Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda and Chordata. And then we also look at, continuing from Chordata over to this, recognition of features of birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. And the reason that it's a continuation is because the phylum Chordata, or the Chordates, includes all of these groups. But sometimes we confuse it to believe that a chordate is an animal with a backbone, and that is pretty much true. All of these, you are familiar that they are vertebrates, but not entirely true to say that the chordate phylum, which is listed here as one of the phyla of the animal kingdom that we are going to be looking at, the chordate phylum is really made up of organisms that have a dorsal, which is on the back, nerve cord, and that includes really everything with a backbone, but it also includes one organism that has a rod going across its back, not really a backbone, and that is the simplest organism in the chordate phylum, but not listed as one we have to study, but important to be aware of it, and that organism is called Amphioxus. But before moving further into today's work, let's take a look back at our last lesson where we were looking at a similar situation for the plant kingdom. And we ended up looking at two specific groups, two really big groups of the plant kingdom, the coniferophytes and the angiospermophytes. Today I want you to recall, why did I mention that the coniferophytes are also called the gymnosperms? And I want you to open your personal Google Hangout chat with me right now and write down what is the literal translation of the term gymnosperms. And then the angiospermophytes. Does that just include bright flowering plants? Does it include plants like the corn and the grass and all of those kinds of plants? Type your answer to that question also in your Hangout, and do it now before we move ahead. So if you said that the coniferophytes, also called the gymnosperms, are the cone-bearing plants, and the term gymnosperm literally means naked seed. So when you shake a lot of these cones, the seeds fall out. That is one of the key features of the gymnosperms. But of course there are many other features of this and all of the other groups which you had to list in your last assignment. Other groups meaning the bryophytes and the philocinophytes. And then of course the angiospermophytes, angiosperm, seed within a vessel. And that seed within a vessel includes a combination of plants with wind-pollinated flowers and insect-pollinated flowers, the angiosperms. Today, we are going on to look at a similar activity for the animal kingdom. And I've gone and put everything into this big diagram, taking us back to the three domains, bacteria, archaea, and eukarya, laying it out here actually in the form of what is called a cladogram. A cladogram shows some kind of evolutionary history associated with three groups. And here, what this cladogram is showing, and we are going to study cladograms in topic 5.4, but what this cladogram is showing is that the most ancient of these three groups in terms of the fossil records that we have is the bacteria. Then from the bacteria, also referred to as the true or the eubacteria, with an EU going in front of here, we had the archaea. And then the archaea are more closely related to the group known as the eukarya, which is the very big group that we have been studying. Big in the sense, of course, that we can see them. And there are lots of organisms that we can see with our eyes. Not to underrate these two groups, which we can't see with our eyes, but are of course also quite large. These are the three domains. Our focus is to look a lot at the kingdoms that come out of this domain, specifically the plant kingdom, which we looked at last time. And today we are focused on the animal kingdom. And you would have to lay out your diagram very much as we did last time to look something like this, with animals at the center of your diagram, broken up into Porifera, the sponges, Cnidaria, jellyfish, Annelida, which includes organisms like earthworms, Arthropoda, which is any animal with jointed legs and appendages and a body made up of a few segments. Things like spiders and insects and crabs all belong to the group Arthropoda. It's the biggest of these animal phyla in this section. Missing from here is the group Mollusca, and Mollusca includes organisms like snails. All of these have certain specific features that allow them to go into these groups, and that is what you're going to be researching today as you lay out your own diagram like this. Of course, you'll then move on to expand on this very important group here, the chordates, which includes organisms that have that dorsal nerve cord. But the chordates that we are going to study, actually, they all have backbones. They include the bony fish, which is just one of the chordate groups that we have for fish. Another one is the cartilaginous fish, which includes sharks. So the bony fish, actually, they are called the osteichthyes. And then we have the amphibians, which includes animals like frogs and salamanders. Then we've got reptiles, which includes lizards, iguanas, snakes, crocodiles. And then we've got birds and mammals. So all of these need to be a part of another diagram. So two diagrams today, one with animals in the middle, that being the kingdom animals, subdivided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phyla. These are not the only animal phyla recognized. I just want to add one more group that I missed. The Platyhelminthes, that includes the flatworms. And it's listed up here as one of the groups as well. But we are focusing on these because they are listed in the biology guide. And then for the phylum Chordata, or the chordates, the animals that have that dorsal or back cord running, we are looking at only the vertebrates, the ones that actually have backbones. And all of these 5, you want to add an example of those with a photo from our shared Google Drive, where we have everyone sharing images. Of course, today we are going to likely have some problems with some of the organisms, but as far as possible, you are going to get images from our shared database, and where it's not possible, you would be allowed to search the web and get photos of things like sponges and jellyfish, a few things that you won't be able to find, but most of these organisms you would be able to find. So the groups that you are likely to have some trouble getting photos out of our database are the Platyhelminthes, the Porifera, and the Cnidaria. Pretty much likely that you'll get photos of everything else from our shared database, and that's where I want you guys to focus on. Because I don't want this to be an exercise where you just read the book, don't even look at a photo or think about what the organism is, and just memorize facts. Where possible, go out and get photos. And of course, because we are all confined to our homes right now, we are using the power of collaboration to create this collaborative and cooperative database, very much a part of the nature of science, to get data so that we can help each other to complete this activity.